I'm Stephanie, a 22-year-old nurse. I met my fiancé, Williams, back in college. We were course mates, always hanging around the same study groups, sharing notes, and laughing about how stressful our classes were. What started as simple friendship slowly grew into something deeper. He became the person I leaned on during exams, the one who walked me home after late-night study sessions, and before long, we fell in love. By the time we graduated, everyone around us knew we were inseparable. So when he asked me to marry him, it felt like the natural next step in our story. In 2022, my life felt like a dream coming true. I was finally preparing for the day every young woman dreams about, my wedding day. After years of waiting, praying, and hoping, I had found the man I believed was my soulmate. He was handsome, kind, and attentive, and I thought he was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. The moment he proposed, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. I still remember the ring shining on my finger, the way he smiled when he asked me to be his wife, and the tears of joy that filled my eyes when I said yes. From that moment forward, every single day became about planning the wedding of my dreams. I wasn't alone in that excitement. I involved the person I trusted most in the world, my mother. To me, it wasn't just about getting married, it was about sharing that journey with her. My mother had always been my guide, my confidant, the one who had stood by me through every stage of my life. So it only felt natural that she would be part of one of the biggest milestones of my life. She was there when I picked out my dress. I remember standing in front of the mirror, turning slowly in that white gown, my heart racing. My mother clapped her hands, smiled brightly, and told me I looked like an angel. I felt so loved in that moment, so proud that my mother was there to witness me stepping into a new chapter of my life. She helped me choose flowers, sample wedding cakes, and even sat with me late into the night, flipping through magazines and online catalogs. Every time I thought about my future, I saw her there, smiling and supporting me. My friends envied me, saying how lucky I was to have a mother so involved, so eager to see her daughter happy. And I agreed. I thought I was blessed beyond measure. My fiancé seemed to adore her too. He would often say, "Your mom is amazing. You're lucky to have her." Whenever he said that, my heart warmed. I believed I had the perfect balance, a loving fiancé and a supportive mother, both walking with me toward my dream wedding. In those months, my life was filled with joy and endless plans. I spent hours scrolling through Pinterest boards for decoration ideas. I practiced writing my new last name. I imagined walking down the aisle, the music playing, and the man I loved waiting at the altar with tears in his eyes. Every detail was carefully thought out, and my mother was right there, holding my hand through it all. I remember one evening so clearly. We sat at the dining table, me, my fiancé, and my mother, talking about seating arrangements. My mother laughed, my fiancé teased me about how serious I looked, and I thought to myself, this is it. This is happiness. I felt safe, loved, and protected. I thought nothing could go wrong. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was. I had so much faith, so much trust, that I didn't notice the little cracks forming right in front of me. I didn't notice the small glances, the unnecessary closeness, the times my fiancé and my mother seemed to share private smiles. To me, it was just family bonding. Nothing more. But in that moment, before the storm broke, I was filled with nothing but joy. I was a bride-to-be, surrounded by love, supported by my mother, and cherished by the man I thought I would spend forever with. I told myself, this is going to be the happiest year of my life. If only I had known then that all the trust one had placed in the two people closest to me would one day become the very reason my heart shattered into pieces. At first, everything seemed perfect. My wedding plans were moving forward. My mother was by my side, and my fiancé was supportive. I thought I had found the perfect balance, a man who loved me and a mother who cared deeply about my happiness. But then, slowly, little things started to bother me. It began with moments I almost laughed off. Times when my fiancé would linger a little too long in conversation with my mother. They seemed to joke more often, laugh at things I didn't quite understand. Sometimes, I'd walk into the room and find them sitting close together, speaking in hushed tones, only for them to stop the moment they saw me. At first, I told myself, don't be paranoid. I trusted them both. Why would I ever question my mother, the woman who raised me? Why would I doubt my fiancé, the man who swore he loved me? I convinced myself it was normal, that maybe they were just becoming close because of the wedding planning. After all, we were spending so much time together. It only made sense. But as the weeks went by, those small moments began to weigh on me. There were days my mother would know things about my fiancé that I hadn't even told her yet. For example, he'd mention something he liked or disliked, and my mother would already know, as if they had talked about it privately. When I asked about it, she'd brush it off with a laugh, saying, "Oh, he just mentioned it while you weren't around." I started noticing how comfortable he seemed with her. Too comfortable. If I was in the kitchen, he'd sometimes sit in the living room with her for hours, chatting away while I finished chores or errands. I wanted to see it as harmless, but a part of me began to feel left out, like I was the outsider in my own relationship. My friends noticed too. One of them even asked half-jokingly, "Isn't it strange how much your fiancé and your mom get along? I've never seen a future son-in-law and mother-in-law that close." I laughed at the time, brushing it off. But deep down, her words planted a seed of worry. I tried to silence that worry. I told myself, "You're just overthinking, you're just stressed from all the wedding planning." But the unease kept growing. Sometimes I'd call my fiancé, and he wouldn't answer, only to later tell me he had been busy talking to mom. At first, I thought it was sweet, that he respected her, that he valued her opinion. But after a while, I began to ask myself, why were they talking so often without me? What could they possibly be discussing for so long? Then came the small lies. He'd tell me he was busy with work, but later I'd find out he had been at my mother's house. When I asked him about it, he'd get defensive, saying he was just trying to help her out, or that she had called him for something. My mother would back him up every time, smiling innocently and saying, "Oh, I just needed a hand with some errands." The more I noticed, the heavier my heart became. I felt trapped between doubt and trust. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. I didn't want to accuse them of something unthinkable. I kept telling myself, this is just stress, this is just wedding nerves. But inside, I was beginning to feel something I had never felt before in my own home, like a stranger in my own life. The people I trusted most were building a bond that I couldn't quite understand, and every instinct inside me whispered that something wasn't right. Still, I stayed quiet. I buried my fears and smiled through the pain. I thought, it's better not to question, better not to ruin the peace. I chose trust over suspicion. And that choice was the biggest mistake I could have ever made. Because while I was silencing my doubts, the truth was already growing, hiding behind secret chats, stolen moments, and lies disguised as love. A truth that would soon break me completely. I remember the night it all came crashing down. Up until then, I had been brushing off the doubts in my head, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But deep down, something wasn't sitting right with me. The way my fiancé would look at my mother sometimes, the sudden hushed tones when I walked into a room, the way she'd laugh a little too hard at his jokes, it all started to form a picture I didn't want to see. Still, I told myself, she's my mother. He's my fiancé. They would never betray me like that. But life has a cruel way of showing you the truth when you least expect it. One afternoon, I was going through some things on my fiancé's laptop. Nothing sneaky, nothing suspicious. I just needed to check something for our wedding budget because all our plans, expenses, and schedules were saved there. As I clicked through the folders, I accidentally opened a chat window that was still logged in. At first, I didn't think much of it. But then I saw my mother's name. I froze. Messages, dozens of them. Some casual, some deeply personal. And then, the ones that made my stomach twist. Flirty messages, late-night confessions, things that no mother should ever be exchanging with her daughter's fiancé. My heart pounded so loudly, I thought I would pass out. I scrolled further, desperately hoping I was misinterpreting, that maybe this was some kind of twisted joke or misunderstanding. But there it was, clear as day. He told her how he couldn't stop thinking about her. She told him how she felt alive again because of him. They talked about how wrong but irresistible it all felt. They planned secret meetups, times and places where they thought I would never notice. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the mouse. Every message I read felt like a knife piercing deeper into my chest. This wasn't some stranger. This wasn't some acquaintance. This was my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry, and my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, the woman I trusted more than anyone else in the world. I remember just sitting there, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. My mind was screaming, no, 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 this cannot be real. But it was real. Every word, every emoji, every hidden confession proved it. Still, part of me thought maybe I was overreacting, maybe these were just words, and nothing more. That hope, that desperate denial, kept me from completely collapsing. But then, I saw the pictures. Yes, the pictures. Selfies they had sent each other when they were together. Her sitting across from him at a cafe, him leaning into her shoulder, like they were already a couple. And then more intimate ones, the kind that made it absolutely undeniable. My stomach turned so violently, I nearly vomited. That was the moment my world shattered. I couldn't run from it anymore. I couldn't pretend. The man I was supposed to build a life with was in love, or at least in lust, with my own mother. The betrayal was so heavy I couldn't even cry at first. I just sat there, numb, staring at the proof until the screen blurred. My whole body went cold. I remember thinking, how long has this been going on? Was our entire relationship a lie? Was my mother secretly competing with me for him the whole time? And then another question hit me. Why? Why would she do this? This wasn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. This was about my mother, the person who was supposed to guide me, protect me, and want the best for me. Instead, she was sneaking around behind my back, stealing the one person I thought I could count on for the rest of my life. I closed the laptop and just sat there in silence for hours, replaying every moment in my head. Every smile, every hug, every I love you from him now felt poisoned. Every piece of wedding planning I had shared with my mom now felt like a cruel performance, as if she was laughing at me the whole time. And you know what hurts the most? I never saw it coming. I trusted them both so blindly. I was so wrapped up in the joy of my upcoming marriage that I never imagined the two people closest to me would be the ones to destroy it all. That discovery changed me forever. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was the kind of wound that makes you question who you are, what love really means, and whether anyone is truly trustworthy. Because if your mother and your fiancé can do this to you, then who in the world is safe to trust? When I finally gathered the courage to confront them, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely keep still. I had rehearsed the words over and over in my head, how I would demand answers, how I would shout, how I would cry. But when the moment came, all I felt was hollow. First, I confronted my fiancé. I looked him straight in the eyes and asked him about the messages, the pictures, the secret meetings. At first, he tried to deny it, fumbling for excuses like a child caught in a lie. But I could see it in his face. He knew there was no escape. The proof was undeniable. Then, as if all my pain meant nothing, he confessed. He told me he had fallen for my mother. He said it wasn't planned, that it just happened, and that the connection between them was too strong to ignore. Imagine hearing that from the man you thought would be your husband. Imagine being told to your face that he loved your mother more than you. My heart shattered all over again. I thought maybe, just maybe, my mother would be ashamed, that she would come to her senses, apologize, beg for forgiveness. But when I turned to her, she didn't even flinch. She didn't cry. She didn't look guilty. Instead, she looked at me calmly and said words that still haunt me. He deserves someone better. Better. As if I wasn't enough. As if my own mother, the woman who raised me, saw me as unworthy of love, unworthy of happiness. Those words cut deeper than the affair itself. She wasn't just admitting what she did. She was justifying it. She was telling me that taking my fiancé from me was somehow right. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But instead, I just stood there, numb, watching my world crumble in front of me. In that moment, I lost them both. My fiancé walked away from me completely, choosing her. And my mother, my own blood, chose herself over me. The wedding was called off. My dreams, my plans, everything I had built for the future, gone in an instant. And what was left behind was shame, confusion, and a deep emptiness I can't put into words. Do you know what it feels like when people whisper behind your back, when they pity you, when they look at you with eyes that say, "How could your own mother do this to you?" I live with that every day. People don't just see me as the girl who was betrayed by her fiancé. They see me as the woman whose own mother stole her future. And the hardest part is the questions that never leave me. How could she? Was I ever truly loved by her? Was my happiness ever important to her? Or did envy always live in her heart? I may never know. What I do know is that the betrayal changed me forever. It's not something you heal from overnight. It's not something you can neatly package and put behind you. It lingers. It reshapes you. It makes you wary of love, cautious of trust, and fearful of giving your heart away again. I lost my fiancé, yes. But more than that, I lost my mother. And that is a wound that no amount of time can easily heal.